Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Dusty Mason and welcome to the Shred Academy. Today we're going to be covering basic mountain bike suspension setup. We'll be covering how to set your air pressure in your rear shock and your fork, and we'll also talk about what kind of tuning that you can do on your shock. So without further ado, let's get tuning. To initially set up your baseline air pressure, for your rear shock, you're going to put in your body weight. For your fork, you're going to put in half your body weight. So I weigh 160 pounds. So in the rear, we'll put 160. And in the fork, we'll put 80. But because this is an e-bike, I like to add 20 pounds to the rear and 20 pounds to the front, just to kind of add a little bit of support because of how much the bike weighs. So I'm gonna put in about 185 in the rear, and in the front, I'm gonna put about 90 to 95.
Now this valve right here, it's kind of hard to see. There it is. That valve is what you're gonna screw on the shock pump onto, and the shock pumps are specific to shocks, so you can't use a floor pump. So without cross-threading this guy on there, you want to just screw it on there. Okay. Boom.
Now I can put air in the shock, and yeah, I'm about right on cue with that. I actually will admit that I do run a little higher than average because of my riding style, and I also run a volume spacer, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's awesome. All right, there we are. Now, when you take this off, the only way you're gonna lose air is if you're sitting on the pin as it, right? What you're really hearing there is the air releasing from the tube. So there's not a whole lot of need to put like extra air in there because you're taking this off. Now, if you take it off and sit there while it's, yeah, you could lose a bunch of air. So just be, see, you hear that? That was just the air coming out of here. All right, so I've got that done. We'll put the cap back on there. We're gonna do the same to the fork, and then I'll show you how to set your sag and check it. Now that you've got your baseline air pressure set, it's time to check your sag. It's great if you have a friend who can sit on your front tire, kind of hold your handlebars there, your fork, so as you bounce up and down and initiate your body weight into it, you're not falling over. I have a rear tire stand. If you're going to use that, just make sure that you're not messing up your rotor or your derailleur as you're doing this. So basically, what you want to do is you're going to get on your bike and you're going to bounce up and down a few times, and then you're going to get in your attack position, which is putting your body weight basically directly over the bottom bracket, and you're really not trying to engage the fork, you're just kind of hanging out there. So, and we're going to use these pressure rings to check our sag. So we'll start with getting in my attack position, bouncing up a few times. All right, and now I'm gonna get in this attack position. Now, if you had a friend, they could, you know, go ahead and move your rings around, but if you're by yourself, you can very easily do that. And then you wanna get off without really engaging the suspension anymore. So I'm gonna rotate down nice and easy, and then step off. And then my bike's gonna come up. And now we can check the rings, and most shocks have a measurement on it, and they'll tell you how much sag you have. And each bike's a little different, but most of them range between 25 and 30% sag for a good setup. So let's check where I'm at.
No, not that way. How's the road this way?
I'm at 25% sag, so that is really good. And in the front, I'm at about 20% sag as well. I do run a little stiffer fork setup because of my riding style. So yeah, so getting a general air pressure setup is super easy. Don't be scared.
to put that shock pump on there. Just make sure it's threading on. If it seems like it's difficult, back it off. It should thread on nice and easy. Now we're gonna move on to suspension terms and what you can do to possibly tune your shock. Now that we've talked about getting your general air pressure set up, let's talk about compression settings and what they mean. Now, when we talk about compression, we're gonna talk about the shock compressing. When we talk about rebound, it's talking about the shock rebounding from a compressed state to its fully open state. Self-explanatory, but some people get confused. Now, there are two types of compression. There's low speed compression, which is more or less your body input into the bike. Your pedal bob, small roots, the small stuff. And then you have high speed compression. And that's gonna be landing drops, jumps, hitting square edged rocks and rock gardens, things that are big impacts on your shock are high speed. Now you also have rebound. Now rebound, you have high and low, and you also have one that's all together. You have that for your compression settings as well, and that's what we're gonna go into this shock here. This is an older Cane Creek double barrel CS, and this has all the adjustments you could almost ever want. It has low speed compression and low speed rebound. It has high speed compression and high speed rebound. It also has this switch here, and it's their climb switch. And what that does is it basically shuts off the low speed compression side. So you just have that high speed compression. And this is a special thing not a lot of companies do. Some companies do this, but I'm not gonna list them all, and there's new companies doing new things all the time. But this is kind of unique to higher end shocks, as though you can basically run this shock as hard as you want while in climb mode. If you have a shock that is actually like the one I've got on my bike here, I have a 3-position compression switch, which means I have a fully open, a slightly less open, and then a firmer compression setting. Now when I say firmer, I don't mean locked out. It's just changing the firmness of those compression settings. And then I have a lockout, right? And that lockout switch is a switch right here, and it switches. And that basically locks off, shuts off the compression settings. How compression settings work is it's a 2-part system. You have your compression, and you have, we're gonna call them ports. And those ports allow the oil in your shock to travel through them. So if you have your compression wide open and the oil is passing through very easily, it's gonna be easy for your shock to compress. If you close off that compression, it's gonna make it harder for the oil to go through, and it's gonna firm up your compression. Now, it's kind of the same exact thing with rebound. As the oil goes through and it needs to travel back into the system, right? It's gonna go through a set of ports. Now, these ports can open or close, either closing and slowing down the rebound, having it open slower, or it can open up and letting it rebound fast. So those are how those things work. And if you don't have all of these settings, right, and you just have a trail, descend, lockout, basically those are your compression settings. You don't have a lot of tuning options like you have can tune a shock like this. The only way to tune those shocks are really with what's called the shim stack inside. And the shim stack is kind of like those ports. It allows oil to travel through, and how you orient that shim stack can allow oil to pass through easier or harder, stiffening or slowing your compression. Now, most all shocks have your rebound knob, and that's usually one rebound. Other shocks, the higher end ones, they'll give you both low speed, high speed, otherwise you're getting one. Now, as far as your fork goes, it's gonna be the same thing. Your higher end forks are gonna have high speed, low speed compression and high speed, low speed rebound, and they work the same way.
We're not going to get into how they work in the pixies and fairies and how they distribute the work that goes on in there. Now, another way that you can tune your shock, even if you don't have all those settings, are with something called volume spacers. And they look like this. Okay, and these volume spacers look like this. RockShox and Fox both have their own separate ones. RockShox, they're called, I think, bottomless tokens, and these are called volume spacers from Fox. Basically, you can stack them together. This is a fork one. It goes in and connects to the airport. Right there, you unscrew this, goes onto the bottom. And then this is a rear shock one. You open up the air can, slide this on, pop the air can back on. Installing them both, either one, shouldn't take you more than maybe 15 minutes. And it's really simple. I'll make a video about it here shortly. So how these work, right? If you're putting, say you're my weight and you're putting 180 pounds in, right? And then you go up to 200 and you're still not getting the feel you want out of your shock, like you still feel like you're bottoming it out. Instead of putting more air in, which is gonna really affect your sag, put a volume spacer in, right? You can run the same air pressure, and what it does is it cuts down the air volume that you can put in there. So yeah, those are how those simple things work. Those are really simple, an explanation of those. I'm not gonna like get into actually tuning because that is a whole video that's gonna take 8 days in itself. But if you are wanting to have help with your tuning, there is a device on the market for the consumer. It's a telemetry device that measures all kinds of shock stuff, air pressure. It basically reads it all. So basically you calibrate this by screwing it into the airport, running through a bunch of calibration steps that ShockWiz tells you on the app, and then you go ride. It'll give you a percentage of how confident it is in giving you these suggestions. It'll tell you what to ride more of if it's not confident. And then it tells you what to change, your high speed, low speed compressions and rebounds, air pressure, volume spacers, and you get to tell it how you want the bike to be set up. Excuse me. That bug is still repeating on me. You can be neutral and stiff, you can be playful and soft. There's a whole bunch of settings that it'll show you how to set up. So really cool, not all that expensive. I think they're like maybe $300 or $400. Go in it with your buddies and then you can all just tune your shocks together. So that's an easy suspension setup. Really hope that you found that useful. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments down below. I always respond. If you have a video that you want me to make, again, let me know. I will make it. Really appreciate your support, guys. Every time you guys like and comment and I get new subscribers, it helps me make the next video because this is what I'm doing now, and I really appreciate the support. Make sure you go become a member or a Patreon. We've got some cool things on the way for you guys. I'm building it all up so I can release it. It's just not little bits at once. I want you guys to be like, damn, and then it'll keep going. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you in the next video.